Well, before I started mowing the lawn, I was in the barn and I could hear our aerator pump was louder than normal. I thought that was peculiar. So after I got done mowing, I came over here and the cows must have kicked it and knocked it off. Ended up ripping the rubber gasket that connects to the aerator, so gotta get that fixed here quick. Go over and show you the pond after I'm done. It's been raining a lot, so the pond is looking pretty nice right now, which is unusual for this year, because this year, which is also unusual, we've had a good bit of algae, and I suspect that's probably got something to do with running the aerator in the winter to try to melt the thick ice cap that ended up forming on the surface of the pond this year, because we had a very cold winter. We used to have this all set up on a solar system over by the pond, but the thing with battery power, that thing always had issues, so we decided to just scrap it. And I ran this 1/2-inch HDPE pipe just as a quick solution, and it's been 2-3 years since implementing it, and well, maybe 2 years. And every temporary solution has a temptation to become a permanent solution. But I'd like to get out here and get that buried. But here's the pond. I'll give you a quick look. Put those lily pads in, shortly after we moved in years ago, and added to them slowly. Some of the pads are bigger, bigger than others. This is one of the bigger ones. The far one over there is one of the first ones we put in. And we got some pickerel weed that we put in as well, along the edges. There's some like Christmas tree sized evergreens that we put in as well to help give the smaller fish some places to go. An old duck house up there doesn't get used much anymore, but it's looking pretty good up here. Over there in that corner where the hay residual is where we were allowing the cows to get a little drink in the winter. I'd like to be able to put in a rock skirt at some point this year to keep that cleaned up a little bit, because the cows can make that pretty dirty. But yeah, that's the pond. The aerator's fixed, and the cows are complaining, and this is the paddock that they've been in now for 2 days, and they just don't know that I want to move them back towards the barn. They don't want to go towards the barn. So, see if we can make it happen. Bringing up the rear. I think they're happy. So this is the beginning of rotation number 2 through 2/3 of our farm. We I skipped the last third. One, because it's very separated from everywhere else, and two, it got hit pretty good this winter. I mean, it's our least productive third. So we put a bunch of nutrients down this winter, so we're giving that time to get those nutrients cycled in. And well, this is recovered, so you know, there's one rule of thumb where as soon as the first spot is recovered, you go back to it. And even with having the cow in heat in here for a couple days, a little over a week ago, it's looking recovered enough for my liking to start rotation number 2. So we try to hit every place in our main rotation, you know, the 2/3 of the farm that we rotate the hardest. 6 or 7 times a year is the goal, and I think we're definitely going to do that this year, because I'm thinking with the more head that we have and the size of our pasture breaks, we are probably going to do more one-day rotations this growing season. So, but everything's looking good. Grass is growing strong, so it can handle it. I'm gonna get you. Ah! 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 We've had a bit of a rain spell for the past week or so, so we spent a bunch of time inside cleaning up the basement, getting it ready for some food storage for the summer. So built some new shelves, organized some stuff. Basement is significantly cleaner now and organized, so everything has a place. One thing we want to do is put a wood stove in at some point, but we're almost ready. We have a big new addition coming soon, so cleaning up and getting ready for that. Need to defrost a freezer or two, and then we're gonna rearrange those down here yet, and that'll be done and ready for the new addition. So stick around and you'll see that here probably in a month or so. But yeah, let's get outside now that the weather's nice. So the goal for today is to clean up the trash that we pulled out of the basement, and I'd like to get that 1,000 feet of fence actually finished. Normally we do a 5-wire high tensile. Chickens are following me thinking I'm gonna feed them, but I'm not. But yeah, normally we do a 5-wire high tensile, but with that neighbor's fence being like 5 feet off his property line, to help keep it maintained and keep the trees down, I'm thinking only 1 or 2 lines at the top, just to keep them on my side. I don't really need to do any of that. He told me I could use his fence and just let them graze it, but I'd like to get it done. So I'm gonna do that, clean up some trash, and then start to brush, use the weed eater to clean up that other hillside opposite of what I just did a week ago. And then I'm going to start working on the 500 feet or so to the road of brush, and see if we can't get this rest of this fence line finished. Certainly not going to happen today, but Well, forgot about this, to be honest. I came up here midweek and remembered and checked it. Everything looked good, but it looks like the pipe repair is working. Although there's a little bit of a collection, but I'm thinking that's just because we had a heck of a lot of rain and it had to go somewhere. But looks good to me. I'll keep an eye over here where I disconnected the tank today while I'm working on this fence to see if water's coming out, because right now it should be coming out of here whenever the pump is no longer in the shade. So keep an eye on it and work on that again. Work on this then today as well. After the high tensile lines are up, I'll be able to cut this back and figure out exactly where I want to put that tank up against that fence. So we'll get that done today as well. Alright, so my first step here, I'm going to just count the number of posts so that my inline strainer ends up somewhere near the middle. And while I do that for this end, I'm going to just start pulling wire and threading it through the post. Alright, I've pulled it through 20 posts, stuck it in the ground there so it doesn't poke anything or come undone. Now I'm going to keep walking and keep counting so that I don't go through a post and then have to undo it to figure out where I want my strainer, so that they're on the line in you know, being an inline strainer. These can be put on after the fact, sliding through right there, but what I have found is there's only a small amount of aluminum that would hold it, and when I did the fencing around the barnyard down there, that piece actually breaks off under tension. So I prefer to go through that hole that's in the middle of the spool, because then it's a much stronger connection with a lot more aluminum to hold it on. So I'm gonna keep counting, figure out where center is, and then we'll come back through with the wire and put the inline strainer on right where it should be. All right, I counted 48 posts, so I counted, you know, an additional 4 from the 20 that I stopped the wire at. I dropped my box of strainers, and then that'll be the tightener when I'm ready for that. So we're ready to finish running the wire and grab the crimpers out of the utility vehicle, and we'll be heading down to the corner and doing our first crimp. After years of work, it's amazing that finishing the fence comes down to just mere minutes of work. Alright, I got my 4 crimps on. I'm down here at the corner, or well, it's not really a corner, but the termination post, and I brought my crimper along. I did forget my story stick. The story stick would tell me exactly which hole to thread this through, but I'm just going to eyeball it and see where it lines up. Probably that one. So making sure my crimps stay on the other side of that hole, and I put 4 on. 2 I'm going to use to crimp off this line, and then I'm going to have 2 left over for crimping connector wires to the other line, and then also across the fence when I connect over to that other post over there, which I am planning to do today. So, and I'm leaving a nice tail on there so that I can use the tail to either go down to the next wire or back across the post if I need to. All right, and that is a beautiful crimp. 3 crimps across three across 2 of them. So she's not going anywhere. Left a nice tail length for bending down to the next wire to work with. Time to go cut the other end. I'm leaving the crimping tool here just so I don't have to carry it back and forth. So I'll cut the wire at the end and run the next one, because I think I'm just going to do 2 today. And then when I'm done running the next one, I'll take the crimpers over and crimp off the other end. Alright, I got the second wire run and crimped off. Looking really nice. And then on my way back, I brought about a 25-foot section of wire and connected these two. It's just kind of hand tight. Once there's tension on both sides, that'll tighten up. So I think we're ready to cut the line at the other end on the second wire and crimp up on that end and call it done. And well, add tension as well. And then I'll work on the tank. So easy peasy. Alright, both wires are on, both wires are crimped off at both ends. All I gotta do now is go get the strainers and tighten them up a little bit. I don't like to make them too tight. I've learned that lesson, pulling fence posts out of the ground and everything. But tight enough so that they don't, sag between posts, and so it looks good. It'll help bring the posts in alignment too, a little bit for any that are slightly out. So just tighten them up, and then these will go, these are kind of like the locks. They'll go in these holes that go across both sides of the spool, and then once you release the tension with the tool, the wire will end up resting on these pieces here, preventing it from unspooling. Pretty simple design, works well. Having fun? Where's your hat? Where's your hat? Can you show me your hat? No, where's your hat? What'd you do with your hat? You goof. I'm gonna have to tell mommy on you. Oh, finally found where the leak is. There's a connection right in here that sends a line down to our garden. I don't think I'm gonna be able to see it very well, but that's the end of the hose. Oh, it's busted. All right. Well, this will be fun. All right. That's a three-way connection. I hope I have something. Well, I don't have exactly what I'm looking for, but I can make it work with some pieces. That'll do. Let's go put it in. Alright, well that was like 45 minutes of my life I'm not getting back. Metal fittings. Note to future me, always buy metal fittings. And Murphy, if you're watching, I'm gonna slay you. Because I swear, if there's another problem with my irrigation, I'm not dealing with it. So like for the 8th time in like 3 weeks, I'm calling this done. So it better be done. It'll be about an hour before the for the pipe to fill up and start filling the tank. We should have enough sun to do that, so I'm hoping to get a conclusion to that today. But the fitting is complete. And Murphy, stay away. I swear, with all these doodads and harnesses and contraptions that we use to strap cameras to us, can't help but think, what do the aliens think of humans? All right, before I get started on the weed eating up here, I'm going to take and connect these two wires so that when they're hooked up to the fence, because there's netting that's hooked up on the other end to electrify it. So I want to electrify this. Just got to figure out how I want to do that. Wrap my tail so I don't poke anything, hopefully. Like the unprofessional that I am. Ah! Close enough. If I was smart, I would have slid that out and tucked that under. Okay, maybe I will be smart. Because when I'm not being smart, it always comes back and bites me. Here we go. Ta-da! Well, after the usual side quests, adventures on a small farm, I finished everything I said I was going to do today. Surprise, surprise. So that's all cleaned up. Hopefully this week I'll be able to turn around and start working up the hill, working the brush closer, you know, fighting it back closer to my neighbor's fence, and start going towards the road. About 500 feet is left, and I think it's actually going to be pretty close to 500 feet, unlike 600 that turned into actually 1,000. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching. Still no water. Find out next week if the saga continues.